Louise, welcome back to Wealth Talk.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for inviting me. Always good to be here.
Yeah, I was just checking back actually, and it was Wealth Talk 25, and that was back in July 2019 when you were last on, and it was just a couple of months after you had joined as one of our founder members, and you were sharing all of the things that you'd got up to, and you had really kind of come out firing from the beginning, Louise. And one of the things that you were doing only just over a year ago was setting up your SSAS. And so I want to find out all about the whirlwind journey. And of course, we're looking at lockdown and how people have leveraged their time. But take us back to that moment and when you were in the process of setting up your SSAS, Louise, and tell us what's happened since then.
Yeah, gosh, it seems like yesterday, Chris. Can't believe it's well over a year ago. But I joined the programme I think it was probably May 2019. I was in the process of setting up my SSAS then, or I think in the final decision making. I made my application to HMRC. I got a pretty fast approval of that. It was very smooth. And then I think from memory, I'm working from memory, I had an approval from HMRC in the September time. And then from there, of course, it becomes more challenging because then it's about pension fund transfers. So I was making a transfer of a final salary or defined benefit pension from a company that I'd worked for the first half of my career, actually. So it was quite a significant transfer to be making. So from the September, I then went into taking IFA advice, independent financial advisor advice, which you have to do if you're transferring this type of pension. And that went on up until sort of Christmas time. Then all of that went into the pension fund provider to make the request to basically release that pension into my new SSAS. And so it was February, actually, literally just prior to lockdown starting, that I actually got my SSAS funded. And I'd been working really hard, actually, from the time we last spoke, thinking about how I was going to invest it, coming up with my business plan for my SSAS, and making sure I was ready when that transfer happened, that I would be in a position to invest, because I didn't want to be sitting on that pot and then going, what am I going to do with it? Because it would then obviously start eroding from that point. So worked really hard from sort of that summer through to the February, just prior to lockdown. And then when I got the money, I was ready to press the button. So I started to make then a series of investments from my SSAS, and I got about half of it invested pretty quickly over a couple of months, actually, because I'd done my prep work.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because of course at the heart of the wealth building process is the wheel of wealth, and obviously the 5 stages, always education and then support and connection, due diligence, and I know that obviously you follow that process. And
absolutely,
in terms of the education, when did that whole process of even discovering about SSAS begin?
That was probably about a year before, actually, because, it took me a while to learn about SSAS and to get comfortable with the idea. I saw the opportunity immediately, Chris. I saw that this was, what I was looking for to accelerate my wealth building journey. And I saw the positives and the benefits. And I had to really, I wanted to really rein myself in and just do that, that education, that sort of, the support, turn the wheel, really, do the due diligence. And so I did take my time to, really understand what was involved and whether it was going to be right for me. And then critically, how much time would be needed to be a SSAS trustee, and that's not to be underestimated. And then I needed to get comfortable with how I was going to invest it and how I was going to leverage it, all before I made the decision. So, there was a lot of education involved. I joined the SSAS Alliance very, very at its inception, actually. I always say I was in the right place at the right time, and I made fantastic connections. So Kevin actually introduced me to the concept of SSAS Alliance, as that was just starting up. I was fortunate enough to be, as I say, hitting that at the right time. So I was at the launch conference in London in April 2019, got more connection, more education. Mark had launched his book around that time. I think he launched it the following month. So I got a SAS Pensions book and read that. And then, just really started to go to as many SAS Alliance meetings and networking meetings as I could. And I continued that right up until, we were stopped by lockdown. So I was a founder member of SAS Alliance, and then a founder member of a couple of the local networking groups as well, all of which was part of turning the wheel right. I did the education, I got the support, it helped me to do the due diligence as well. So that when that money landed, as I say, I was ready to press the buttons and confident that I was doing the right thing, and I knew what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah. I know we're using a bit of wealth building language here with wheels and pillars. So anyone listening who is not sure, we'll definitely point you back to some of the earlier episodes where we explain the wealth building principles. But you mentioned Mark there. So that's Mark Stokes, founder of SAS Alliance.
That's right. Yeah. Mark Stokes, founder of SAS Alliance. Mark wrote a book called SAS Pensions in middle of 2019. It was published. So anyone interested in SAS who's not picked up that book needs to pick up that book immediately from Amazon. And while you're there, you can pop on and order a brand new book that I've co-authored with Mark called SAS Superstars, How 10 Entrepreneurs Unlock Their Pensions Without Waiting to Retire. So I approached Mark in the summer of last year, as I was going on my education and support and connection journey around SAS. I said, Mark, I love your book, and I think it needs a sister publication, which is sort of practical case studies, because I found as I was networking in the SAS community that people were saying, I've read the book, I'm doing some of the education, but, what are you doing with your SAS? I want to see what people are doing. We need some sort of real life case studies to sort of get inspiration from and to get ideas from. So I was conscious that there was always, what are you doing with yours? What are you doing with yours? So I thought, well, I'm asking the same question. And I was identifying and zeroing in on people that I thought were really, credible and, great trustees that I wanted to learn from. And I thought, well, while I'm educating myself and making these connections, I can, I could write this, I'm effectively interviewing people. I'm having networking meetings. Why don't I make a book from this? So that's what I did. I approached Mark, and another one of the pillars, of course, the wealth building pillars, is JVs, joint ventures. And so Mark and I did a true joint venture in co-producing the book, and I've just finished writing it over the last month or so, and we're literally just publishing this week on Amazon. So yeah, that's the story there, Chris.
Yeah. So in one foul swoop, there was a JV and some IP in one go. Which is great, and I know you also tapped into pillar one, which is home equity, and also a lodger that you have, right?
That's right. So, we tapped in. My first move was home equity, so release some money from the family home to buy to let. And then also we used home capacity by bringing a lodger into our family home, which has been fantastic for us. So that pillar ticked. Then moved on to pensions, got my SAS set up, got my pension transfer set up, got confident, to make the investments that I wanted to make. So that was a tick. And then went to the IP pillar, and I suppose IP stroke JV pillar, which is where Mark and I co-produced the book. As I say, I've probably spent almost a year writing it, but I'm really pleased with how it's turned out, and I think there's plenty there for people to learn from, whether they are thinking about becoming a SAS trustee, or whether they're already. I've got huge demand from the existing sort of SAS Alliance community, people that are existing trustees saying, I really still want to learn. From people. We're all on a learning journey together, really, which is a nice aspect of the SAS community, actually. I think even if people have been trustees for, a number of years, because there's been so little education and so little content and material out there about SAS, that people are still hungry, for that education, and those case studies and examples. So I think the book has very broad appeal. So I hope everyone enjoys reading it and learns something too.
They sure will. And how exactly did you leverage your time during that lockdown period, Louise? Because, that really helped accelerate, the writing process for you, I know, and you had deadlines to hit.
Yeah, I did. I have to say, I just saw lockdown immediately as a gift. And as a family, we actually went into a voluntary lockdown about 2 weeks earlier than the rest of the country. We just decided we felt it was the right time to sort of isolate ourselves, and so we took the children out of school a couple of weeks earlier than everyone else leaving. So I kind of had a bit more of a run into it. It wasn't too much of a shock, but yeah, I just said to myself immediately, I knew that we were doing this as a family. This is a time for hyper focus. So that word hyper focus was kind of my sort of buzzword really, or my motto for the time, and that's what I did. And I just decided I was setting some goals, and I was going to deliver them. So I actually set myself 3 key goals. I set some goals around health, some goals around my wealth, and then the goals around the IP pillar and finishing my book. So I developed some new habits around health by getting into a health accountability group, really set some new habits around walking 12,000 steps a day. The added benefit for that was I became a podcast junkie. I had about 2 hours a day to listen to self-development podcasts. So I really leveraged that time as well. So I hit my health goals. I've developed some new habits there around fitness, and I went teetotal, started tracking food. I lost about 8 pounds, which I was really happy with. I thought, I'm going to swim against the tide. Everyone else is just going into eating and sort of drinking gin, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go the other way because that's kind of me anyway. So I did that around my wealth. My goals around my wealth were around absolutely getting my SSAS invested, and I leveraged my buddy group, my 7 Steps to Wealth buddy group, to do that. We were all at a similar stage in our SSAS journey with similar goals, but we have very complementary wealth dynamics. So we actually organised ourselves to say, Louise, you do this, Richard, you do this, Adnan, Marty, these are your roles. And we actually worked together to assess investments, and then we made the same investments, having decided as a group that they were good investments. So we really leveraged that collaboration. And I think the lockdown just gave us focus. So we talked to each other every week actually, and just checked in and got that job done. And then I think the accountability sort of really helped me as well. And then finally that my third goal was absolutely around finishing my book. The lockdown, again, it just gave me that hyper focus, and I was able to just carve out time every day to do that writing, and just to really push myself over the finishing line. It was hard work, Chris, and I know you've written a book, and you know how hard it is to get it done and to get it over the finish line. I pretty much finished that towards the end of lockdown, and as we came out, it was just a matter of checking it, proofreading it, quality controlling it, which is what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and with so much going on, I don't know if you have a second ever to actually just look back and see how far you've come in really a short space of time, Louise. I mean, how does it make you feel now to know that you've got these pillars in place?
Yeah, I feel good. I'm 100% more confident than I was sort of at the start of the programme, and 100% more confident than I was probably 6 months ago, really. And I put it down to turning the wheel. So when I first joined the programme, it's kind of like, I'm turning the wheel. Okay, I see the theory of that. It's neat. It's a bit of it's a bit of jargon, or a bit of marketing or whatever. But actually, as I've done it, I've realised the power of that. And a big learning for me And Kevin always says this: turn one wheel at a time, choose one and turn it the full turn. And I was guilty probably the first 6 months that I was trying to write the book. I was trying to turn the IP pillar, I was turning the home capacity pillar, I was turning the property pillar, I was wheel. I was turning the pensions wheel, and I was doing a lot at the same time. And it's not the way forward. So when I was able to tick off, I've done the property, I've done the home capacity, I've done the pensions, then I was able to really focus on the IP and turn that wheel properly, and finish my book. And I think, through everything, that's been a really key learning for me is choose one and turn it fully, which is what Kevin teaches us. And now I've done it. I see the power of that. So now I believe it.
Well, there you go. You've heard it from even Superwoman needs to turn one wheel at a time, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Louise, just remind everyone of the date that the book is out and the name again for those that might want to pick up a copy.
Absolutely. So we are live in Amazon now for pre-orders, actually, but the book will be published officially on the 11th of September. It's called SSAS Superstars: How 10 Entrepreneurs Unlock Their Pensions Without Waiting to Retire. But all you need to remember is SSAS Superstars. The authors are myself, Louise Righton, and Mark Stokes, and we're in Amazon now. So, yeah, I hope everyone will pick up a copy, read it, and I'd love to hear feedback, and I hope people enjoy it and learn something.
We'll definitely share that to the Wealth Builders community for you as well, Louise. Great to have you on today, and as always, great to hear all of the wonderful things that you're up to.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity. Talk to you soon. Bye.